Hi everyone. So I have been sitting with God um, since I woke up this morning. I've already had my coffee. I only had one cup today. Um, but God has been bringing me back to so many things. Yesterday, I watched a video from, was it yesterday? This morning. No, he's been bringing back words that I have been watching for the past, some that I haven't seen since 2 years ago when I first started. Um, when God first took me through my first isolation, and that was, that isolation was 4 weeks. And in between that time, I had been, out. I had my car, so I was driving around. I didn't have a home, didn't have a place really that I could say was where I lived other than my car, my truck. And he's been bringing me back words that he gave me last year, 2 years ago. I wrote my love story back in 2022. Um, Back in 2022, I wrote out, because God led me to write out my love story, how I wanted it to go. And so I wrote it out, but I wrote it I wrote it in a way that was incoherent. Like, so here's part of it. um, Let me see, where's more of it. No, that's not it. Oh, there it is. Okay, it starts here. And then um, like starts there. Oh, here's more of it. And there's another. So this is something else, and then I wrote more here, and then I ran out of paper, so I had to go somewhere else and write more. So basically, I wrote my own delays, if that makes sense. I wrote how I wanted it to go, but in between all of these other things, all of these other works that God had me doing, all of these other dreams that God had me writing down. In between all of that, in between the story that I wrote out, was all of these other things that God was giving me. And I was handling those things. Um, so God wants me to share this dream that I had back in November 3rd of 2022. It was between 1 and 3 a.m. And in this dream, I was in a grocery store buying food. I forgot sugar, cheese, and pepperoni, and I had to go. I get so I get to the cashier line, and I realize I forgot all these items. And I mention it out loud that I forgot to grab some things, and the line was long. And I didn't want to lose my place, but I had to go get these other things because I needed them in order to go on to my to complete my purchase. The man behind me said, "I will keep your cart so you won't lose your spot." I said, "Okay," and I went back to the aisles to grab the things I forgot. As I walked the aisles, I kept remembering more things that I was forgetting. And I kept praying that I would have enough to pay for all of the things that I grabbed, and also kept worrying that I was going to take too long. And then I woke up. So, and I got all this revelation back then, but God never led me to share it until now. So, in the dream, the man that was standing behind me was actually the Holy Spirit. The line that I was in is the alignment with God. The forgotten groceries were the work that was still needing to be completed. And the fear of leaving the line is the fear of getting out of alignment with God. And I know I'm facing a different direction than I normally do. God was like, I want you on this side instead of that side. I was like, okay. And so I wrote this out back then. The Holy Spirit is holding my place in alignment so that I can finish my work, so that I am ready to receive my blessings. Because this is now, so I left on the 21st. This is now 3 weeks. I'm going on my 3rd week that I don't have a job. I have one prospect, and that was God bringing that like, I have to tell you, and he hadn't led me to share it until now. So during that conversation with this woman, it was only supposed to be a half hour. We ended up on the phone for an hour. Okay? Now, this is a recruiter. This is an individual who, she's good at her job. She's boom, 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 we're done, get out. Okay? And it took an hour, and she was diligently writing everything I was telling her. Not once did she say, oh, you haven't been working in this industry for 2 years. I don't know how that's going to play out because, the employer really wants someone. She didn't care. When it is God, and God led me to look up her name. So her name was Brianna, is Brianna. And God had led me to look up her name, what it means. So this was on... So the meaning of Brianna is high, noble, and exalted. Okay? And this is the woman that I was interviewing with. Now, she's the intercessor. She's the intermediary between me and the company. Okay? She has a 4-year relationship with the company that she is trying to get a position filled for. Okay? I am the candidate that she sought out, okay? Because my credentials, because my experience, because, all the things lined up. Now, this is God. In the conversation, as we were getting ready to say our goodbyes, we were talking, she was telling me about, for the right candidate, this could be, it could be a week, and then you're hired. Boom. Done. And I was like, okay. But God said, they have to go through these other interviews because they've already set up these interviews for this company to go through. And I'm like, okay, but they're not calling me. Like, I don't understand. And he goes, yeah. God goes, you have to wait for me. I'm like, okay. I'm like, whatever. I'm here. I'm waiting for you. I'm not going to, whatever's meant for me is going to be for me. And nobody's going to be able to take it away. So, so this morning I woke up with this heaviness. Not a sadness, but a heaviness that I'm like, there's a date coming that you promised me. It's been, we're coming up on 2 years now. And he's repeating his words. He's like, but remember this word, remember this word, remember this word. And God has had me watching this lady, this family. It's a Nigerian family. And the wife does mainly she's a stay-at-home mom. So she takes care of the kids, she takes care of the home, takes care of making food. Now the husband works, but he also will periodically make meals for the family. like on his wife's birthday, he handles the cooking, the cleaning, all that. And I was watching because I've seen both of them. Mostly her. The videos are about her and cleaning and taking care of the house and all that. But I have watched her, and then I have watched him in his videos that he's doing with regarding the same thing, taking care of the family. And I notice how well they complement each other, because God has been highlighting this. Like, see how he's exactly the same as her. She's cleaning as she goes. She takes care of her home. She takes care of this. She takes care of that. I'm like, yeah, that's the fact that he's willing to do that as well. Like, he's not, oh, she's can clean it after me. Because trust me, I've been in a relationship like that where he would make a mess and then he'd be like, I made the cooking. You got to clean. I'm like, wait, what? But when I cook, I clean. And he goes, yeah, you shouldn't. You should just leave it. And I'm like, who's going to clean it? When you get into something that's not of God. But it was preparation. And it was a lot of work that I was doing. And so as I'm sitting here, I'm like, why am I feeling this heaviness? Like, I don't understand, Father. Like, I have not doubted. I have not, whenever the fear starts to come in, I start to pray. I've been listening to worship music. I've been listening to different words from different prophets who confirmation about standing in a posture of gratitude, sitting in a posture of thankfulness, and not looking at this as punishment. Okay, sometimes it can feel like punishment. It can feel like it's too much because it's overwhelming. But in reality, it's God allowing those emotions, those things that are not of Him, to bubble up so that we can give it to Him, so He can take it away from us, so that we can feel at peace again. And I have to tell you, I have such a tremendous amount of peace that it's indescribable. Like, I can't even begin to explain the sheer calmness that I feel. I'm not, like, I know how I used to feel, anxious, worried. I would not be sitting here. I'd be pacing up and down. I'd be, I actually just sit here and look at my books. And then I'm like, are we studying today? Or what are we doing today? And then he gives me, look at Facebook or look at YouTube. And I'm telling you, this woman and her family, God has me, like, I've subscribed because God led me to do that. But I had watched her videos. Like, her videos just started popping up on my feed. I'm like, where did this woman come from? Like, why? Because my husband and I love to cook. Like, that is one of the things that surprised him about me, that he wasn't expecting. Because I make food the way he does. I don't measure things. I used to when I first started cooking, but now I let God. I'm like, God, what are we making today? And then he's like, oh, throw that in there. Throw that in there. I don't even taste it to see if it tastes good. I make it and then I eat it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. And so it's just, I let him lead in everything. And, and hi, are you going to lay down? Or are you just going to stand there? Huh? So I have to share. There are sections of my dog that are bald. Okay. In the last 48 hours, there are now hairs where there used to not be hair. The skin, the dry, brittle skin that he had is peeling off. it brought me back to that dream where the angel of death is peeling this film off of my dog. And that's what this looks like it's being peeled off of him. And God keeps telling me, it's new wineskin. It's new wineskin. It's new wineskin. And I'm like, but... So he has been telling me that Exodus is coming. My new beginning is coming. And it started on... It started on April 1st. April 1st, I started to hear the new beginnings, new beginnings. He's been telling me new beginnings. I've been reading new beginnings. And the boomerang, and he's bringing back these dreams that I had all those months, years ago now. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. So I started hearing words about new beginnings. The reason I stopped is I started reading this dream that I had where I was a watcher. And this was from October 24th, 2022. And in this dream, it was a house I didn't recognize, but I knew I used to live there. The walls were broken down and busted up. The rails showed signs of termites. I noticed that the house had started being repaired, but the patchwork was completely noticeable. I then overheard the landlady say, "They must have moved out without notice. Let's get this house ready for the next person." I then saw my ex-husband, and he was upset and left to go to the bar. I then started looking for him and heard he was still at the bar. I went to find him with my puppy. I found him, and then we were in the car, but my husband was not in the car. So that's why I stopped, because it's just the things that I've left in the past, the things that Father has removed from me, that I no longer have to deal with, that I no longer am a part of. Father gave me a dream 2 days ago. No. Yeah, 2 days ago. Where I was on a street and the people were moving really, really fast, and I felt like I was moving really, really slow. But I was standing still. I wasn't moving. And God said, "This is where I have you right now. You feel like the world is moving so fast outside." And I'm like, well, I'm not in the world right now. I'm not a part of it. I'm staying here inside with you. And he goes, "But you feel like you're moving slow." I said, I do. I feel I'm not moving. I'm just standing still. And so in my dream, when I started to move, I was moving faster than the cars. It looked like the cars were standing still, but they were moving because I could see them trying to catch up to me, but I'm moving so fast. And that's when God told me, you're getting ready to move again. But this time it's going to be at my speed, not yours. And I was like, okay. So that was 2 days ago I had that dream. I didn't write it down. I was going to write it down today, but then he pulled me elsewhere, and I was feeling this heaviness. And then this morning he gave me another dream. In this dream, it was a continuation of that dream. But I had stopped in to visit my family, my mom and her kids and all that. And I don't even call her mom anymore. Now I call her the woman who raised me. So I was visiting with her, and my ex-husband was there. And that was one of the reasons why I stopped talking to them. Because God said, if they cannot stand by you, and they are preferring someone who's not even family, and they're standing by that person, then you need to go. I'm like, okay. So I closed the doors to all of them. I closed the doors to, everything that they were a part of. And so I was in the house, in the room with them, and they were asking me where I lived. And I'm like, oh, somewhere over there. And they're like, no, but where? I'm like, oh, do you see that building over there? Somewhere over there. And they're like, but where specifically? I'm like, well, I'm heading home. So, since you guys are on my way, I decided to stop in. And they're like, wait, you live close enough to walk there? And I said, yeah, but I live somewhere over there. They're like, well, can we come with you? I said, no, I'm sorry, you can't. But I'll come visit you because you're in the line of the bus. Oh, you take the bus? Yeah, I take the bus. So we can come with you. I said, no, you can't come with me. You have to stay here. I can come visit you, but I can't take you with me. And God said, you've left them behind. They can't come with you because they're not at your level anymore. They will never get to see you close up again. I was like, oh, okay. So right before I came on, I was actually listening to a prophet that God brings every so often with confirmation, with additional understanding. Like he says certain key words and I start to sit with that, and then God just starts to download. And this is literally the words that I wrote down that he said. He said shift, quietly, strategy, act. Then he gave Exodus. And then God showed, I looked at the time and it was 2:10. And he goes, 2:10, 2:10. And I was like, okay, I'll look it up. And so as I'm sitting here with all of you, I looked it up online. I did a Google search for 2:10, and those are the scriptures that God brought me. Okay, so this is what God told me about the shifting, the quiet, the strategy, and the action. This isolation has been a test for me. Because when I first went into isolation, there was so much fear and so much gunk that I revolted. Not at God. I revolted at the isolation. Okay? No, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. God, you have to bring me to a job. You have to bring me to a job. You have to get me a job. You have to get me a job. And God was like, okay, I understand. I understand. Just like when I asked him to bring me someone who could speak into me, that was not as harsh. He understood that I wasn't in a position to be able to just sit and wait for him because I was so raw. And when I say raw, like I'm not kidding you, my own shadow used to scare me. I used to jump because things were happening to me that I had no control over. That's how much fear I had in my body, how much fear had gripped my soul. And that fear was starting to change my heart, started to change my faith in who I believed in. And I started to idolize that fear. And that's what God was like, whoa, no, 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 no. That's not what I wanted to happen, which is why he pulled me out. Now, is he going to take you that far? No, probably not. This was a special case for someone, for me specifically, because of the way that the evil that was done to me was from infancy. This woman was given me to care for. And instead of showing me love, instead of showing me patience, instead of showing me all of these other things, she chose to speak death from the time I was born, because I was given to her as an infant, you know? And so, and those things didn't start taking effect until I got older. Until, because of the way she was speaking, because of the things that she was saying, the people around me started to say the same things. And so now, my friends, but God always had a very select group who became my protective cocoon. So even all these other people were talking all this nonsense about my character, about what I really looked like. You know, boys would call me ugly. They would tell me that I was uglier than a rat, walking backwards. Yeah, I heard a lot of mean things. But these few people, my grandmother, my teachers, a couple of girlfriends, they would speak life into me, and I clung to that. So, because I could feel that I wasn't, like, I was tough, but I wasn't that tough. And then when I got married, and for anyone who has never dealt with a narcissistic spirit, this is a controlling, demeaning, think of the worst things that evil can be. And that was this man. Which is why I was starting to lose my identity. I was starting to lose my faith in God. Thank God he didn't get to finish what he was starting, because I would not want to be that person. Okay, so God began speaking to me through these words that I wrote down, and he said, the shift is quietly providing strategy for your action. I was like, what? And I'll show you. I did not write anything else other than shift, quietly, strategy, and act. I didn't write anything else, but that's what God said to me. And I was like, the shifting and the quiet, huh? So these 3 weeks that I've been here by myself, isolated, is to bring quiet. It's to bring silence, so that I can really hone in on what it is God is telling me to do. And I have a choice. So God would reveal to me today, and I'm like, Father, why? Because I asked him finally, I'm like, Father, why are you bringing this Nigerian woman? Because, so they took a trip with her husband and the children, took a trip to Nigeria to go visit family. And the beauty, they went to visit his family, and then they went to visit her family. But while they were visiting her family, his family showed up because they missed them so much. Now, this woman lives in the U.S. She has the luxuries that we have here in the U.S. She has a working refrigerator. She has a working dishwasher, a working washer. So she has luxuries in comparison with the people, her family, who live in Nigeria. So she's showing the life of the Nigerian woman, and there's no stove. They have this area where they have wood, where they have it's kind of like a fireplace, but it's not a fireplace. And so there's no grass. It's all dirt. It's a dirt yard. And she's in there, and you can see the joy. And then God, this is God just telling me, look at how humble those people live. And yet, look at her smiling. She's there. She's got a beautiful dress on, you know, and she's there washing clothes out of a bucket. And she's talking to her family, talking to her sisters, talking to her sister-in-laws, and she's smiling. You know, they're making food and they're smiling, they're having a good time. They're talking to each other. She's not going, oh, I don't want to stay here. None of that. She enjoyed just being around her family, and it didn't bother her that they didn't have the things that, you know, modern society has. For them, it was about being together in the moment. And I was just like, this is you showing me, don't, you know, don't be upset with the humble beginnings. Confirming the beginning. You know, just because it doesn't look like I thought it was going to look like doesn't mean it's not changing. God can do anything at any moment. For us, it takes waiting. But if we're waiting in a posture of not being happy, then we're not really accepting the posture that he's looking for. So it's going to take longer. So, okay, so this man confirmed my exit because he brought Exodus. I love it when you do that, Father. You know, when he opens the book, when you open to the page or close to the page that you need to be on, and you're just like, that's him guiding my hands. Sorry. I'm a dork like that. Okay. So it is